Hey, Gaming Geek here with the exciting conclusion to my 3-part Space Hulk Epic Build series. If you haven't seen the first 2, make sure you go ahead and see those first right here. This is basically after 2 months of printing and painting to get the entire 3D Space Hulk board done. Thanks to all of you who gave advice to go ahead and wash all of the platforms. I did that, and definitely it does look a lot better. Also, stay tuned for the end of the video where I give a tutorial on how to make these medical pods that I have incorporated as part of the set. This took 9 rolls of filament, so over $200 worth of filament in order to print all of this. Took a month to print everything, and then took another month to paint. So let's go ahead and set this up and see what it looks like. Alright, enough with the dramatic music. Let's go ahead and turn the lights on and take a look at the set. I am really happy with how this turned out, and all of the work of painting and chipping with salt, all that kinds of stuff paid off, because I think it really looks good with this gritty look to it. Definitely fits the theme of Space Hulk, of these old derelict ships. And it has that creepy feeling of being in these confined tunnels and spaces where the Xenos are coming after you. So really like it a lot, and I like how the effects did turn out. And washing all of the walkways was a great idea, as it really weathered them and took the shine away from them. So it really adds to that whole flavor of just being a derelict ship, being really old and run down. So I like the color combination as well. I'm glad that I stuck with the blue and having the orange accents. I did end up washing the doors as well, and I think that helps contribute to them looking weathered too. So overall, just super happy with how it turned out. And these white spots that you see is basically a result of the salt that after I wash it and use a toothbrush to take off the excess salt, there's still some remaining, and I did that on purpose. I didn't want to rinse it off completely, but those white spots again contribute to the whole theme of it looking weathered and worn down. Might even be some mold or corrosion that's on those pipes, and so I intentionally didn't wipe it all off or rinse it all off, and kept some of the salt water And you can see there's still some salt around some of the edges. And again, that contributes to that whole feel and sense of it being corroded. But overall, super happy with how this turned out. I'm very excited to play. It's been 10 years since I played Space Hulk, and so it'll be fun to dive back in, especially with this awesome scenery to be a part of it. And so very, very excited about it, and I'm glad that I took on this project and finally finished it after 10 years of wanting to do something like this. So there you have it. I really hope that you enjoyed walking with me through this epic build for this Space Hulk set. I'm really happy with how it turned out. The other nice thing about this project is that they stack really well together, and so I'm really impressed with the design from Dragon's Rest. And I'm able to put it away in this container and pull it in and out, including the box set as well. And so all of my Space Hulk stuff fits nicely in one container. Make sure to like the video and subscribe, as I'm going to be making some battle reports with solo gaming during this time of COVID-19 social distancing. And as well, stay tuned for other epic 3D printed terrain builds. I'm already working on my next project. And stay tuned and make sure to subscribe to keep in touch with what's going on there. As I promised before, I'm going to end this video with a quick tutorial on how I made these med units and the formula that I use to wash all of my walkways. So stay tuned for the rest of that. Otherwise, we will see you next time. Happy gaming. So I'm really using Goobertown Hobbies formula, and am going to be using these inks. I have a brown and a black, and also I got the cheaper version of Liquitex's matte medium. This is cheaper than their more expensive kind because it's the basics version. I'm also using a surfactant. This is a professional surfactant called Almor, which you can order online. It's expensive, and I used it for my Hearst Arts molds. You can actually use Jet Dry. That's the stuff that you put in your dishwasher so that it doesn't leave streaks. Liquitex makes a surfactant that you can buy as well, and Goobertown Hobbies shows that in his video. And this is just water. So I'm going to grab my burnt umber, and most of the ink I'm using is going to be a burnt umber instead of just black. And in fact, the ratio of burnt umber to black is about 5:1, but I'm sort of eyeballing it here. And the reason why I sort of like more brown in it is a lot of these tiles are rusted out, and so I want a little bit more brown rather than just straight up black as shading. So this is about the consistency that you want. And then here I'm getting my matte medium, and I want to put in approximately the same amount of matte medium as ink that I have. And so it's a 50-50 mix. Again, that's sort of eyeballing it. And then I'm using my surfactant here, and I use a squirt, and then decided to add a little bit more matte medium to it because the ink seemed pretty thick. So I went ahead, and now I'm adding water, and you can again put 50-50 of what you have up to this point, and then add that much water to it. And the way that I gauge how much water to put in is I will sort of mix and rub the ink against the side and see how much of it is opaque, and I want to get it so that it's runny. So this is about the consistency that you want, and this is what Nuln Oil or other brand name inks or washes will feel like. And you want to make sure that you're getting an even coverage like this. If you're not, and if the ink is beading up, then you want to put more surfactant into your fluid. But that's pretty much what it looks like. And I also wash these medical pods, and you can see here the difference between the left and the right. The left, I basically spray painted these silver, and I did salt them so that they're speckled, but really the wash is what gives it that aged look. And you do want to download these pods. They are separate from the HVAC set. I think they're just $6 if I'm not mistaken. But you can buy these again from Dragon's Rest. Links are below. I think these are worth it. After first spray painting it silver with a base coat and then taking the salt off, I painted the blue and the orange, the yellow, whatever colors that you want. And it does look, when you first paint it, really bright and new, and that's why you want to put this wash on there. And I think this piece really shows you the difference the wash makes, especially on the silver part. And I like how it makes it look really aged with the wash on it. So, and as always, wash goes on darker than what it dries, so you might freak out a little bit and say, oh, that's too dark. And you can water down your brush, which is something that I do every once in a while, where I feel like it's too dark or too thick. But overall, just remember that when it dries, it will dry lighter than what it looks like when you first put it on. For the plastic, I just use a clear drink bottle like this one and just take the label off. And you can use different colored plastic if you want, and just pick the beverage of your choice. But I prefer this over flat sheets because it's already curved, and so it's a little bit easier to do it this way. So just cut off a piece, doesn't matter if you're very precise, but just big enough so that it'll fit the height of these med bays. And then after getting the piece off, just measure it out and cut the pieces. I don't have a template or anything, I just eyeball it and use my scissors to make all of my cuts. And so just at this point you want to make the cuts straight, and then I straighten out my rough cuts from when I first took it off the bottle, and then just fit it to size, and then make sure that it's the right size for these med bays. And I don't glue it in there or anything. Here I had leftover parts from my Tyrannid Warrior pack, and I just used the upper part of him. And if you just have any gene stealers or anything like that, you can go ahead and use them. And I drilled a hole in the back, pinned it, and super glued him in there. Since I only had one spare one, I went on Thingiverse and was able to find these ones, and I printed them at 50% and pinned them as well. I use my FDM printer, although you can use your resin printer for them too. One of the things you have to be careful of is make sure that the super glue dries, because I super glued this guy and didn't wait for it to dry before I stuck them in there. And see how the vapors from the super glue has hazed the plastic? Now, I don't really care that much because, you know, it makes it look more aged, but with this guy, I'm going to wait until the super glue is completely dry before I put the plastic on. So these are the multicolored tea lights that I got from Amazon, and check out the links below, but these change colors. And they're pretty easy to pop off because this little flame is rubber. And then for this part, I just use some clippers to just get this top part off. And then this black plate has to remain depressed. And fortunately, the bottom of these has this thing here that I'm going to press this back plate up against that. And so this is right in the center, so that doesn't really matter. But what I do is I line up this notch. I line it up with this notch right here. Then once that section is in there, I push the rest of it firmly inside so that it's pressed up against that thing. Obviously it's hard to see the lights in the light, but when you darken the room, they end up looking super cool. And I really like how it changes colors. I think it has that cool, creepy effect with all the different colors. So these LED lights are my preference. Although you can buy clearly single color bulbs, but these aren't very expensive, so I think they turned out really well. So hopefully this was really helpful tutorial for you. So hope that you can get these on your gaming table as well. We'll see you later.